Good morning and welcome to the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce's Business Breakfast Series. My name is Kimberly Nadeau-Lindloff. I'm the President and CEO of the Mid-Maine Chamber, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here today. Before we begin our program, I want to take a moment to thank our 2025 Business Breakfast Series sponsors. They include AT&T, Cross Insurance, New Dimensions Federal Credit Union, Nicholson, Michoud, and Nadeau, CPAs, no relation, O'Donnell, Lee, Martin, Duboard, attorneys at law, Sheridan Construction, the Morning Sentinel and Turner Publications are our print media sponsors. The Mix 107.9 is our radio sponsor, and Kennebec Savings Bank is our video sponsor. I want to shout out a special thank you to Pretty Flaherty and Summit Natural Gas, our additional sponsors for today. Be sure to visit this month's Business Spotlighters. Out in the hallway, we had the Belfast and Moosehead Railroad and Summit Natural Gas. Check them out on your way out. And I also want to welcome our newest chamber members, Elm City CrossFit, Gendy Crepe and Smoothie. Oh, those waffle crepes. They're really, really good. Lambert's Auto Group, Next Gen Solutions LLC, U.S. Small Business Administration, Tech Resolve LLC, and Waterville United Church of God. I would ask you at this time to please turn off your cell phones in consideration of our guests, and please don't forget to complete the evaluation forms on your tables. Be gentle, this was a big undertaking. We have some upcoming events. We have a bunch of ribbon cuttings, like a lot of them, including today. For a complete list, go to midmainechamber.com/ribbon cuttings. Our next Business After Hours will be held Wednesday, October 15th at Central Maine Ford on Kennedy Memorial Drive, hosted by Central Maine Motors Auto Group. That's from 5:30 to 7. The next one in November is in December. We don't have one in November. It's going to be held at the Elks Lodge, 905 and Banquet Center on December 17th. We're hosting a leadership luncheon with Ryan Poulin, President and CEO of New Dimensions Federal Credit Union on Wednesday, October 22nd from 11:30 to 1 at Amici's. Lunch is provided. Please register on our website. The next business breakfast will be here over in our normal meeting space on Thursday, November 13th, entitled Digital Marketing Tips for Your Organization. Please register today at our website. Today's presentation, the gubernatorial meet and greet with the candidates, we're going to give each candidate 5 minutes to speak. You have everybody's bio on your table but one. So this is where I eat crow. I blew it. Alex Murchison sent me all his stuff, in fact, early, a month early, and it did not get into your packets. That's on me. I'm going to email Alex's bio to all of you. We'll correct it on our website and everywhere else, and Alex is here, and he will have an opportunity to speak because it's completely my fault. At the end, we're hoping to have time for Q&A if we can keep every candidate to their 5 minutes, which Sabrina in front of me in the red will be holding up the cards. I'm going to stand here. I would ask today for grace and respect. If somebody starts hammering a candidate, we're moving on. We're not dealing with it. So you can ask fair questions. We're not going to put every question to every single candidate because we'd be here forever. So if you have a specific question for a specific candidate, you may, raise your hand. We'll be coming around with portable mics and ask. But I don't want anybody being badgered. This is an opportunity to get to learn the positions of the candidates running for the primary for the governor of the state of Maine. This is not an opportunity to beat each other up, please. This is being taped. It is being live streamed right now. So it'll go up on YouTube. You'll have all the opportunity to get all the clips you want for your commercials or anybody's commercials. But we ask that you please be respectful. Let's see. That is it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull 3 names out of here. The first one will go first. The second one, the first one will be at bat. The second one will be, yes, how's that go? At bat, on deck and in the hole? Okay. Sorry. I'm a football, basketball girl, not a baseball girl. All right, first person. Rick Bennett. So Rick, if you please come up. On deck. Jim Libby. In the hole. Ken Panett.
Good morning. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Mid-Maine Chamber, for having us here. It's a great morning, and I'm grateful. Thank you for everybody for being here today. I'd like to cover three things, if I have time. One is why I'm running for governor and running as an independent. Second, our vision for Maine's future. And third, how we can win with your help. So first, why I'm running. I'm running for governor because Maine needs a different kind of leadership. A leadership grounded in integrity, not ideology, a leadership that unites us around our shared values, and a leadership with the experience and a track record of getting things done. Now, you've got my bio, but it matters that Maine's next governor has worked both outside and inside government. I've served as president of the Maine Senate, elected unanimously by my colleagues from both parties, but I've also built a career in the private sector, helping grow businesses and create jobs right here in Maine. I've been a CEO, I've been a chief executive. I know what it's like to meet payroll, to build a team, to solve problems, to make tough calls. But I also know how to navigate government to get results. Maine's next governor should have both private and public sector experience. Now is not the time to hire a governor who has to learn on the job. I'm running as an independent because Maine's next chapter should not be dictated by party bosses in Washington or by special interests pouring dark money into our elections. Too many politicians are more focused on partisan point scoring than problem solving. The system thrives on conflict, not resolution. While the issues that matter most, housing, our economy, our schools, get lost in the noise. Maine politics should reflect Maine values, honesty, independence, and that roll up your sleeves attitude that's been passed down to us for generations. Our vision for Maine. I'm very bullish about Maine's future, bullish by talking with all of you here today and the things you're doing here in the community. It's a future that we will build together. And it's a future where young families can afford to stay and thrive because housing is within reach and childcare is available. It's where rising property taxes aren't forcing our friends and neighbors from their homes, where small businesses can flourish and we have the workforce to meet demand, where we meet the needs of our most vulnerable people, those seniors on fixed income and those suffering from mental health and substance use disorder, where we protect our precious natural resources, support our traditional industries while investing in innovation and the jobs of the future, where our communities from urban neighborhoods to rural villages are vibrant and strong, and where state government earns your trust by being effective, accountable, and honest. You know, government in Augusta, unhappily, has taken on some of the hyper-partisanship and dysfunction of Washington. It's time to restore the tradition of politics as practiced at the community level in towns across Maine, where disagreements may be strong, elbows might be sharp, but we treat each other as neighbors, with kindness, with civility, and with humanity. This is not wishful thinking. This is within reach. It's up to each of us to make it happen, and Mainers deserve nothing less. Lastly, how we win with your help. From my conversations with voters across the state, one thing is clear. Mainers are fed up with politics as usual. They want a governor. They want a governor who will be beholden only to the people of Maine and who has a track record of delivering results. And that's how we're building this campaign. We are talking with voters across the political spectrum. We're building a sophisticated campaign operation. We're assembling a team with the skills and experience to win. It's not easy. It's a long race. But I've run 15 marathons, and this is one more. And with your help, we can make it happen. So today, I'm asking you to join us in building a politics rooted in decency and dignity, one that listens before it judges, serves instead of seeks power, focuses on outcomes rather than outrage, and reflects the better angels of our nature. Now is the time. Maine is the place we all love. Let's do this together, and let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I figured I better come up here quickly since there's 15 of us. Well, I want to thank Rick Bennett for recommending that you get somebody with both private sector experience and government experience. That would be me. And you, Rick. And you. Yes. Yeah, and I've enjoyed working with Rick Bennett for many years, and also many of you in this room. And I've done so as a state senator. I've done so as a state representative. I've done so as somebody that's working over to Thomas College and really trying to make a difference over there, and somebody who's worked at Colby College as well. So lots of great times I have spent 24 years in this region, and I feel very fortunate and blessed to have been in that kind of a position. So I'm running for governor because we really need some change, and I'm coming up here to talk to you about issues and just kind of a change in the dynamics when it relates to those issues. So, I mean, as opposed to speaking about me, I want to speak about something that really matters. Every single person in this room has a stake in what's going on with a natural resources advocacy group purchasing 4 dams, every single one of you. And the purchase of those dams might take for granted somewhat the amount of not just the jobs that are associated with SAPI but the whole region, because I have lived through, living close to Westbrook, the disappearance of paper company, paper industry jobs, and what happens there. And so one of the things I want to make sure that I emphasize is that I talked to a couple people today and said, geez, thanks for putting that bill in the other day that maybe addresses some of the problem. I'm thinking about maybe the importance of a 10-year moratorium. Thanks for going up to Skowhegan and talking to those folks. Thanks for talking to the people at SAPI. I've done all of that. But you know, I'm here to tell you that any single person in this room, including the other candidates, including people in the Democratic Party, who wants to know what happened in those meetings, be a part of those meetings, I invite you. I invite you, because we all have a stake in it. What I have experienced in the last 2 terms is not the same thing that I experienced in the 1990s when I was both a member of the House and the Senate. I don't think the 2 parties have worked very well together. And I'm not blaming that on anybody. I think that would be the wrong thing to do. What I'm going to do is to tell you, how do I think that we can get around that? Well, one of the things that I want you to know is that if you support me and elect me, I will use an important power that the governor has, the power of the veto. I will not just extend vetoes, but it's the knowledge before a bill is heard that there may be a veto coming that does force the 2 sides to work together. And there is nothing better than divided government. I mean, if you're selfish, and sometimes I am, I have to be honest with you, I would love to see, the Republican Party takes all 3, gets the trifecta. I like working with people of all minds, and I'm not here to pretend that I have every single answer to every single problem. But what I can tell you is that I have experience addressing those problems. For example, the business equipment tax rebate program became Betty. A lot of the businesses in here have taken advantage of it. That's a program I wrote and worked with the governor to make sure that it happened. Another good example, and probably the one I'm the most proud of, I joined a Democrat senator in co-sponsoring, writing, and serving on the board of the Jobs for Maine's Graduates program. And I'll never forget when we decided at Thomas College to house the Jobs for Maine's Graduates program, I didn't tell Lori LaChance that I was involved in creating that, and I was on the inaugural board. I didn't even tell her. And she didn't know until we had a couple of years ago, there was a banquet to honor myself and the senator in the other party who decided that, it was a really good idea. It's in more than 100 schools. It helps students understand what their futures might be like. It teaches people so much about the difference between a hands-on opportunity and one that's more academic in nature. And when I say that, and I want you to think about this very deeply. A lot of people in this room, including people in this room, feel like the free community college program was a really good program. Well, I'm here to tell you that I support a first-year promise. I don't support a free community college system. You know why? Because Thomas College's future was threatened by that. And I worked there. And there are many other private colleges in Maine. Are you coming over to tell me that the 5 minutes is up? I appreciate that. So oh, there it is, right there. Usually politicians conveniently ignore those signs. So I'll just end by saying, I've got a lot more to tell you. I invite you to come over and talk to me, and I'll stay here as long as you want me to afterwards, until my employer tells me I need to go over to Thomas. See you later.
Ken Panett?
Thank you, Kim, for inviting me. There's 3 subjects that's dear to me is homelessness. Homelessness, I feel, is out of control. People deserve to have a home. A home is not a privilege, it's a right to have a home, the place where you can be safe. As Maine's next governor, I will highly push to use tiny homes for people to get off the street, have a tiny home community. Well, they could have a garden or whatever they need to feel relaxed. You're not being pushed. You can't, you're not being told you can sleep here and you can't sleep here. It'll be their home. Then the next one is also tiny home veterans. Put the veterans in tiny. I'm not a veteran, but I see just by watching the public, the veterans served us. We got to serve them. There's no need why we can't have tiny homes. You can build them. I don't know the exact cost, but it's a lot cheaper than building 3 duplexes. So you could have 40 tiny homes on say a 5-acre lot. Spread them out enough, people have room to move. Next thing I passion is mental health. Mental health crisis is crashing hard. As governor, what I do is financially put money back in the mental health system. Open up CSU beds. They're closing. CSU bed is, instead of going to a hospital where you're locked down, CSU bed is a place you go stay 3 or 4 days a week just to get things back in order, and you're free to go anytime you want. The mental health on the homeless people, that's a way to mental health, because you have nowhere to go, and you're thinking, well, I don't care. We got to make sure that people do care and get them off, and try to get them off the street. Next thing is the mental health, and that's all I have right now. So.
Thank you, Rick and Jim and Ken. Okay, up to bat. Jason Cherry. On deck. Bobby Charles. And in the hole is Hannah Pingree.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the invite. I sound a little sick here, but it's allergies, and I work all nights. I'm a data privacy attorney, which is a bit of a rabbit hole. I deal with ransomwares, business email compromises 24/7, so that's a rabbit hole. Just make sure you have endpoint detection and response on everything. Put multi-factor authentication on your VPN, emails, and your pets. All right. I'm a new face, obviously, and I promised myself after retirement from the FBI, I'm an FBI agent for 20 years. I was an assistant section chief for 430 people and a budget of $150 million. My entire January is to do zero-day budget, is to work with all the employees. So Harvard Business has 30 people per supervisor. I had 60 and 430. So being organized, having the project management skills, senior executive skills, knowing government contracts, time and materials, that's the executive powers that I've held under a pressure cooker. And I do that now. And I hope to bring that same business expertise back to Augusta. I know that right now people are not crazy about parties, obviously with the national parties kind of melt down. I mean, everybody has to say, look, are you going to represent us, or are you going to represent the Church of the Donkey or the Church of the Elephant? And people are tired of that. And I have no bad blood in Augusta. I'm going to go there and do what I did as a senior executive, and that is to work with people, to listen to all perspectives, and to move forward with housing, with energy, with poverty. None of these things can get fixed if people are fighting some useless culture war in Augusta. I'm also a critic of business regulations that make no sense. I defend my clients all the time. Their businesses, they have to deal with nonsense these days when people are just papering a file. Some of the things that need to be fixed here in Maine are just basically putting everything on a virtualized network, securing it, getting it multi-factor authentication, and using the ticketing system and business analytics there in Augusta so that I know what you need from me. Right now, I'll give you an example. The law bar is an office of examiners, office of overseers, and a private. It needs to be put together. So that, if you ask for something like Freedom Information Act, it goes to someone's email, and if they're not there, it dies. So there's a lot of things that need to be fixed technologically with our government, securing our schools, but working with everyone. If I have the honor of winning the primary, I'm going to promise you that I'm going to work to make us have an independent attorney general. 46 states get to vote for their own attorney general. Here in Maine, we still have the territorial form of government where the attorney general answers to a powerful few legislators. So 46 states have their own attorney general, and so should we. I know that the bipartisan, the chief election official, that person should be voted by a bipartisan bar or electable. This is more democracy. I'm a Jeffersonian Democrat. I believe in states' rights. I believe that we need to be strong as Maine, and that our media and the people that support us are also out for Maine, which I would be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. So we've got Bobby and then Hannah.
So first, I want to thank the Chamber, and I actually, in a sort of an anomalous thing, I want to thank everyone in this room, because you obviously care about the state of Maine. And it might be the largest field. I think I bumped into someone who isn't running for governor just a little while ago. Perhaps the largest turnout at this moment we've ever had. My background is simple. I grew up just down the road here in Wayne, and the Wayne I grew up in, the Maine I grew up in, was filled with good schools. My mother was a school teacher. We had safe neighborhoods. That was a standard. And we had an affordable life. That's the way everybody could make a good life. And because I had good teachers, in a shock to me, quite frankly, my father never went to college. My mother started at $12,000 a year. I was shocked. I got into Dartmouth College, accepted. Why? Out of an unaccredited Maine school, because I had great teachers, truly great teachers. And from there, I worked my way through there and through Oxford University with a master's in economics, and then Columbia Law School, and then the rest of my life I really dedicated up until recently to serving my country. I never imagined that the things I went off to do, which I sort of thought were a series of lightning strikes, incredible things to be able to do, would somehow vector to this moment, but I think they do. Reagan White House for 3 years, Naval Intelligence Officer for 10 years, taking down big drug trafficking and terrorist networks, eventually being an Assistant Secretary of State managing a $2 billion operation, which we both made efficient and made work. And at the end of the day, I come home here to Maine. I also ran a company for 25 years, but I come home here to Maine, and I find that the state that I left is not the state that I came home to. Shockingly disordered. A state in which we have 10,000 overdoses a year. When I was in high school over in Winthrop and then later graduating Maranacook, we didn't have any of these overdoses like this. We have drug trafficking organizations all over the state. We have an unaffordable state. We have energy costs that are out of control. We have public safety being, in my opinion, deprioritized. We have taxes that are the worst in the country, and our schools are actually also the worst in the country, sadly, on the numbers, NAEP. 75% of our kids can't read at 4th grade level. 74% of our 8th graders can't do basic math. So one of the other things I discovered is we have a deficit of hope here in this state. People have become disillusioned by what they have to experience every day. The median income for those under 35 is $200 a month below median rental. How do you make the American dream happen if that's the norm? So here's my bottom line. We don't have to live like this. As a governor, and I honor everyone in this room who is stepping up to do this job, as a governor, we can start funding, not defunding the police. We can roll back the mandates that have dramatically increased property taxes. We can cut income taxes. We can cut business regulations. We can get rid of the red tape, and we can make math and reading a priority, not woke ideology in the schools. So at the end of the day, I guess my message is, because we can only say so much here, go look us all up, go look at what we offer. I believe that we are living in a state which is the most wonderful state in the United States if you just peel back the top layer, get the government accountable again, put integrity at the top again. And I think that our kids and our grandkids have a chance, that's what I will do as governor, give them the chance to live in a state that is also, again, once again, safe and prosperous and affordable, and a place that doesn't have a deficit of hope. You know, I'll end with this. Growing up in a little elementary school, they taught us to envision the possible, to imagine the possible. And frankly, everybody in this room is pretty successful. You did that because some teacher gave you that idea, and then you believed you could do it, and then you worked your tail off to do it. I want Maine to be that place where the American dream is again real. And I truly believe that with the hearts in this room, we can get this state back there. It's not there now, but we can get back there. So let's fill the deficit of hope with solutions. That's my promise to you. I will give you everything I've got. I sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. I have done that in every major job I've ever held, from Assistant Secretary of State to running a business to being a Naval Intelligence Officer all over the world. So thank you.
Hannah.
Good morning. How is everybody? Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Mid-Maine Chamber, for having us. So we were advised to skip our bios, but in case you didn't read the fine print, here is the Cliff Notes version of mine. I'm a mom of 2 great kids. I was born in Belfast in 1976, and I was raised on the offshore island of North Haven. I've spent the last 24 years in public service, serving as a state representative, chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, majority leader, and I also served as the youngest woman in the country to be elected Speaker of the House. I've chaired my local school board. I've run a small business, literally the hardest job I've ever had. And I've spent the last 6.5 years leading Governor Mills' Office of the Future. I grew up in a town of 400 people, one of the smaller of Maine's 482 communities. When I was growing up, a lot of us have said this, My parents both volunteered to keep the ambulance service running. They both served on the school board at different times. They both ran small businesses, and they were not unique. That's what nearly everyone in my community does and how most Maine towns work, whether it's Waterville, Somerville, or North Haven. People find ways to give back to each other. They employ their neighbors. And as I travel the state, running for governor, people feel so strongly that we cannot lose that in Maine. That sense of caring about our neighbors, especially in these very fractured political times. I'm running for governor because I believe that there has never been a more important time for good leaders to step up and run for office. It's never been a more important time to elect experienced leaders who know how to deliver results for Maine people. And it's also never been a more important time for people who don't always agree with each other to continue to keep talking and finding common ground. I've had many experiences bringing people together, finding common ground, and getting things done. As both Majority Leader and Speaker of the House, I negotiated bipartisan budgets, bond packages, and forged agreements with leaders across the state. During my time in state government, just over the last couple of years, cooperation has gotten harder, but I've been at the center of important moments when we were able to find agreement, like the passage of LD1 this past session, when I worked with Republican leader Billy Bob Fockingham and Senate President Daughtry to pass emergency legislation to help our state recover from devastating storms and better prepare for the future. And today, we are definitely facing both a political and economic storm right now in this country. Costs are going up nearly across the board for health care, property taxes, energy, and housing. Families and businesses are struggling. We know tariffs and cuts to healthcare in DC have made it worse. But regardless of what's driving costs, Mainers just want us, those of us running for office, to do what we can to make the lives of families and businesses easier. And as people in Waterville also know all too well, our healthcare system is truly teetering. There is no silver bullet answer, but we are going to need big and creative solutions to lower costs and ensure access. I've been meeting with healthcare leaders around Maine, especially in rural areas, and we know the solutions are going to need to be bolder to stem double-digit increases in insurance rates, to ensure access to primary care, and keep rural healthcare facilities open. I'm also a mom, a former school board member, and a focus on education is desperately needed. We can't look away from declining test scores. We need to support our teachers and our schools with a laser focus on reading and math progress. I've also called for a ban on cell phones in classrooms, and I believe we do need to invest in the trades and CTE programs, make free community college permanent, and ensure the University of Maine thrives as an economic and innovation engine. So housing is also the top tier issue and a big part of why I am running for governor. When I first ran for office in 2002, people on the coast who I grew up with already could not afford to buy a home in the town they grew up in. They could not find an affordable rent. They were driving long distances for work. 20 plus years later, that crisis is statewide and national. My former office in state government put out a report that said Maine needed as many as 84,000 housing units by 2030. We didn't just pluck that number out of the air. That number was based on how many employees we need to keep our economy going in the face of an aging workforce and retirements. Maine has made progress on housing. We've reformed zoning so people can do more of what they want on their own land. We've simplified rules and made big investments. And even though we now have the largest pipeline of housing under production in state history, it is not nearly enough. We need to go much bigger. We need to cut red tape. We need to lower the cost of construction and invest in innovation. I believe that making progress in housing is critical for our economy, and it can create good-paying jobs here in Maine. There is so much to be done as governor, investing in our economy, lowering costs, pulling our healthcare system back from the brink, and building the housing we need so our communities can thrive. I'm running for governor because I truly believe there has never been a more important time. So again, thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you, Kim, for edging closer. I would love to ask for your vote, have you involved in my campaign. HannahForGovernor.com is my website. And again, thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Okie dokie. Robert Wessels is up to bat. Alex Murchison is on deck. And David Jones is in the hole.
Good morning. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, everybody, for coming. It's great to see you this morning, and so thank you for having me. Half of you are gubernatorial candidates. I want to speak to the other half who are in the business world this morning. I realize you can read, so please take a look. My bio is in front of you. We have websites these days. You can go to my website, voterobertwessels.com, and learn more about me and who I am. I wanted to take the chance this morning just to really talk to you about a specific, very pressing issue, and that's business in Maine. I'm here today not just as a gubernatorial candidate, but as a businessman, someone who has signed the front of a paycheck, and someone who has seen the negative impact that an overreaching government can have. Let me start with a declaration. Maine must become business friendly again. Right now, our state budget is bloated. Our energy bills are among the highest in the nation, and our small businesses, which are the background of our economy, are carrying the load. 99% of Maine businesses are small businesses. They employ more than 50% of our private sector workers. But too often, we see them getting left behind in Augusta. Here's the problem. Our state government believes prosperity comes from more programs, more mandates, and more spending. Every dollar Augusta spends is a dollar that is taken from your employees or from your pockets, from your reinvestment as a business or your growth. Families feel it in higher property taxes, and employers feel it in unpredictable costs. Our young people see it and too often leave the state. Here's my plan to change that. First, we need to rewrite the budget. I have spent the last 24 years writing and living on tight budgets, teaching others how to live on those budgets as well. I will rebuild the state budget from the ground up, focusing on needs, not wants. That's how I live. We can cut billions in waste by ending handouts to non-citizens, trimming bureaucracy, and cutting the size of our agencies. That savings can go back to Mainers in the form of lower taxes, especially property tax relief. Second, we need to cut the red tape. I hear it everywhere. Permits take too long. Regulations overlap. We have unnecessary regulations. The fees pile up. I was at the Blue Hill Fair recently talking to a small business owner, and she had started the business and had been going, but she has been spending the last 2.5 years trying to expand that business from retail to wholesale. Still unsuccessful with it. That is no way to grow an economy. There needs to be clarity, there needs to be simplicity, and the ability to easily expand your business if you have that desire. I will set firm timelines for permits, put licenses on a regular sunset review by the legislature, and create a system where state agencies are rewarded for saving money instead of punished for spending it. Government should clear the runway, not block it. Third, we need to fix our energy policy. Right now, Maine's industrial electricity prices are 54% above the national average. I was talking to a local business in the automotive industry that paid $6,000 a month for electricity. Now they're paying $15,000 a month. That makes it hard to compete, even in the bigger world outside of Maine. It makes it harder to create and retain jobs. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. These are real world problems that we need to be honest about and address. I will work with the legislature to repeal expensive mandates, level the playing field with hydro and nuclear, and invest in a grid that is reliable, resilient, and affordable. The outcome is straightforward. We need a stronger economy, more jobs, and Maine entrepreneurs, an area that Maine entrepreneurs can take risks, and find success. We don't need more government handouts. We need private sector growth. We don't need bigger bureaucracy. We need better climate for business investment. And we don't need endless mandates, but an honest opportunity for people to pursue their dreams. Thank you.
So Alex.
Thank you. Hi there. My name's Alex Murchison, and I'll be honest, I wrote a speech for this, but when I was left off the activities today, kind of thrown through a loop, so we're just gonna wing it a little bit. My bio is obviously absent from your packets, so a little about me real quick. I was born in Caribou, Maine, and I lived there for quite a long time. I've always been trying to run away from the state, honestly. And I don't know, in the past 10 years or so, I grew up a little bit. And fun fact, today is actually my 30th birthday. So, free applause, excellent. So I'm legally old enough to run for governor now. So, being the youngest candidate here, just wanted to say something for the next generation, the people who come after. Yeah, we can't afford houses right now. I have some friends of mine who spent probably 450 grand on a house. Well, they didn't spend it outright. They'll be spending it for the next 30 years. It's hard right now to be a young person in Maine. And what can I touch on that everyone else hasn't already brought up? Good points all around. We need more education, for sure. I think teachers deserve more money. I got an aunt who was a teacher, and she retired, and I don't know how she retired. I don't know. I think I know what she was making, so I don't know how you retire on that. I think we need to fix the housing crisis. Education would be good. I'd really like to tackle the mental health problems in the state. And energy grid would be nice. That was a good point you guys made earlier. I'd like to invest in new technology. And green energy is always a good way to go. I think offshore wind farms are great. I think we should do tidal-based power generation as well. And I'm going to say a word that's going to scare a couple of you. I think we go back nuclear. One nuclear plant can cover about 60% of the state of Maine, and that's just the residential zones. 2 will probably cover us, and 3, we get a surplus. Now we sell energy. Now we're money positive. I'm not going to take up the rest of my time here. I don't have a lot left memorized, so I'm just going to leave off with age 17, I became an Eagle Scout, so you can trust me. I may not have the political experience that everyone else has or the business experience that the other half has. There is a lot of us, and I imagine that it's going to be a hell of a race. Sorry, what's the swearing policy? I'm going to screw that up.
It's being recorded, it's being live streamed.
Okay.
No F-bombs, please.
Okay. Well, then I'll definitely have to cut it short. So, I know a couple candidates have raised over $500,000 in donations. I'm not even taking donations yet, and I don't think I'm ever going to get that much. I could probably do this whole thing for 10 grand, and at the moment, that's probably going to just be my money, and that's okay, because I don't need to win to make a difference. I got ideas, you guys got ideas. Whoever does win, out of all 20 of us, take some of that with you. If it can't be me, then let it be you that brings these good things to the people of Maine. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and happy birthday again. David Jones.
Well, thank you, Kim. Appreciate you inviting me. And hey, everybody, thank you for being here. Obviously, we're all here because we care. I'm running for governor because I do care. And everybody else is stepping up. We care. And the people of Maine deserve to get someone that cares about them and understands the state of Maine. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I know we don't want to go deep into the bio, but I started my life just as a normal guy, raised up by my mom. She was a waitress. My dad was a bartender, machinist, military veteran, 12 years. And he raised us the right way. I got married. I've been married now for 40 years. I have 6 kids. I have 8 grandkids. Anybody here got grandkids? You got children? You know what it's like. You're here because you care. My kids live here, and that's really important to me. I mean, I want to see these kids stay in Maine. For so long, we've lost our brain trust. It's really sad. They come here, they're raised here, they go to school. A lot don't come back because they can't get the jobs that they want. So what do we need? We need opportunity. We need government to get the hell out of our way. Bottom line. Now, I've never served in office ever. So I think that's my best qualification. I can get things done. I'm the guy that signed the front of the paycheck my entire life. I started my company when I was 17 years old. I've been self-employed my entire life. So this is my absolute first job interview. And I thank you guys for having me here. Now, you look at entrepreneurs and you say, what made America great? Entrepreneurs did, ideas, and dialogue. And we don't have dialogue anymore. It's sad. I long for the days of Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. I think a good idea, whether it comes from a Republican, Democrat, or an independent, is a good idea. And we have to stand behind it, regardless. All my life in my businesses, I own F.O. Bailey Real Estate. It's Maine's oldest continuous running company. It's 206 years old. It's 1 year older than the state of Maine. I'm the 4th owner in 200 years. Why has that company been able to stay around for so long? Because we listen. The people that work for me, we listen. And when we hear a good idea, regardless of who's coming up with it, we run with it. And that's what we have to do in Maine. This partisanship that I see today, it's disgusts me. And for 20 years, I've been doing a radio show with Ray Richardson. I don't know if you guys listen to the show. Anybody? Shanna, I know you do. You've been on a bunch of times. But we have people from all walks of life. And for 20 years, my brain has been listening to these other politicians and the ideas. And I don't think anybody goes to Augusta with the intentions of doing bad things. I mean, honestly, it's not like it's a high-paying job and, you're there because you care. But we need people that understand business. When you're transacting dollars, you're conducting business. And the programs that we support, they have to make sense. I tell people, when you reach into your pocket and you hand somebody your money, make sure you're getting something of equal or greater value. If not, run for the hills. We just can't spend our money on bad projects. I'm not for wind. I'm not for solar. And I'll make that perfectly clear. The idea of blowing the tops of mountains off, of tearing down acres and acres of trees and putting solar fields that we have no idea how to dispose of doesn't make any sense to me at all. I am for nuclear. I think small modular nuclear devices are the answer for here in the state of Maine. I'll close with this. I'm running for a reason. And my granddaughter and my grandson were sitting with me one day and they said, hey, Papa, why are there bad guys in the world? And I said, well, there's always going to be bad guys. And she said, well, why do you want to fight bad guys? In my office, there's a picture of Mel Gibson from Braveheart and in a kilt. I wore a kilt one time, and she swears that's her papa. And I said, well, why do you think I want to fight bad guys? And she said, to make it a better place for me and all your other grandchildren, and that's why we're here. We want to make it a better place for the people here in the state of Maine. With your help, and we work together, we can get this done. Thank you very much.
Every man loves Braveheart. Ted has not hung a picture anywhere, which I'm glad about. Okay, up to bat. Shannon Bellows. On deck. Ben Midgley. Whoops. And in the hole. Uh-oh, I pulled two. I'm throwing them both back. Ken Capron.
Thanks, Kim. You know, my great-grandmother was Scottish, so I like Braveheart, too. Good morning, and thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to Kim. Thank you to Katie and my home chamber, the Kennebec Valley Chamber of Commerce. You mentioned those ribbon cuttings, and when I was a state senator in Senate District 14, that was one of my favorite things. You know, the community coming together, regardless of party, to support local businesses and local nonprofits and the lifeblood of our communities. So I want you to remember 3 things about me, and I want to share my vision for Maine and what I will do as your next governor. So first and foremost, I'm the daughter of a carpenter. Bellows Woodworks was the name of his company, built it from scratch, and I have worked hard for everything I've achieved, no shortcuts. I know what it's like to work for a living and to own my own business as well. The second thing that I want you to know about me is I am a fighter. I stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. And I will stand up, just as I'm doing right now, to protect your voter data, for our democracy, and for our way of life, and for our communities. And the third thing, and I think this is really important, the reason I'm running for governor is I think in this perilous moment for our democracy and our economy, for the climate, I think we need strength and bridge builders, people who will bring people together to get things done. And when I led the ACLU, we had a saying, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent principles. Now, some of the Republicans in the room were a little bit upset in 2023 when I made the ruling around Trump's qualification for the ballot, brought a couple of impeachment efforts. And some of the Democrats in the room voted to ensure that I didn't lose my seat as secretary. But something else really important happened at that same time. Since I ran for governor to modernize our services to better serve the people of Maine. And we have been working tirelessly to modernize our elections, modernize the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, corporations, Maine State Archives. And even as that debate was happening, I was working with Republicans, including in this room, on the Transportation Committee for modernization initiatives to fund the BMV. And so folks talk about what's broken in Augusta, but I am really proud that the budget initiatives that I've brought to transportation, that the bills I've brought to modernize, an election security bill I brought in the spring, we have had unanimous consensus, bipartisan support to get those through. And that's how we've served business interests from the beginning of my tenure. You know, I had 100% record with the Maine Realtors when I was in the state Senate because I do think that property is really important. And I've been doing a listening tour, and I think property taxes are probably the #1 issue in this election because property taxes are out of control. And the Realtors told me we needed remote and online notarization. So I brought together a working group with Realtors, credit unions, lenders, business owners. It was bipartisan. We came up with consensus, unanimous recommendations. We moved those through to serve that industry. Car dealers told me it was absurd that for titles, everything was paper. We had to go out of state to warehouses to get titles to move cars off lots. So again, I put together a working group of business interests, of advocates, of stakeholders, a bipartisan collaboration to implement electronic lien entitling. I've implemented automatic voter registration at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, so when kids get their license for the first time, they can register to vote. I've implemented appointments at the BMV, so if you don't have your real ID, make an appointment. It's about 60 or 90 days out. I've implemented online voter registration, secure online voter registration. So I know what it's like to run a business, to be a CEO, to be fiscally responsible, to cut red tape in government. I have done that. And to work, to set aside differences, to work on issues that matter, to move Maine forward. And that is what I will do as your next governor. Thank you very much.
Ben is next.
Time starts now. Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Midgley. First, I want to thank the Chamber. I also want to thank all of you for being here. You're very patient people if you can listen to 15 gubernatorial candidates for 5 minutes. So thank you very much for that. It's a privilege to be on stage here and to be with these other candidates. It shows how important this election is. And I do want to wish all the other candidates the best of luck. It's a very important race for everybody. If you read my bio, you know I'm not a politician. I have not had an easy run in my life. I never graduated college. I've been on unemployment. I've been on food stamps. But through that, I managed to still run multiple billion-dollar companies. One of those I created and built from scratch, and that turned out to create 15,000 jobs in 48 states over that time. So I know how to figure it out. I know how to create structure and momentum and a very positive culture, which has always proven to me to be the most important thing if you're trying to accomplish something great. I've seen both sides of having nothing and then also having a good deal of success, and I think that's really shaped my perspective on things. It's allowed me to look at things, I think, from a different angle from most people. The platform that myself and my team are running on is the economy in Maine, which encompasses things like the state budget. Spending's our issue. We don't have a revenue issue. Revenues are fine. They're projected to flatten out now, but more than enough money to do the things we need to do. Tax policy, we're one of the highest tax states with one of the lowest average incomes. That's not a good place to be. And the business environment is very challenging right now. Cost of living in the state of Maine is rough. Electricity is far higher than it should be. Housing, insurance, these are all things that can be fixed. Opportunity in Maine, I'm very concerned that opportunity is slipping away for not just the folks who are working now, but especially for the younger generation. The opportunity to achieve the American dream in Maine is much, much harder than it used to be, and it doesn't have to be like that. Supporting law enforcement, we've dropped the ball on that one. Maine is in the top 10 of drug overdose deaths and drug overdoses and deaths. I'm sorry, to Bobby's point too. It's not a stat you want to be in, right? I'm sure a lot of people have been affected by that, or you know someone who's been affected by that. We lost our nephew to a drug overdose, okay? So this is personal, and we don't have to have it like this. Plus, our courts and our prosecutors are completely overwhelmed. They cannot keep up with it, and a lot of that is a result of policies. Educational improvement, we've talked about that a few times. That needs to be at the top of the list. We have 3 kids who've gone through the school system. One's still in it, during the period that we transferred from focusing on academics to teaching the whole child, social emotional learning. That has not worked well. I've always supported the schools. I support our teachers dramatically. Teachers work very hard and they are underpaid, but we can do a lot better in education, and we can do better preparing our kids for a future that maybe they can keep in Maine. There's some subcategories to that. Maine care is a big issue. We've got over 30% of the state getting some sort of state benefits. It doesn't need to be like that. You need to have a bridge for these folks to keep their benefits as they move off of the system. And then you get them to a place where they don't need those anymore. We have a plan for that. Happy to talk about that in greater detail. And you need business-friendly policies. Without small, medium, and large businesses succeeding and getting the jobs that come along with that, you can't fix any of this. You need a robust economy. We're not there yet, but we can bring that back, especially our primary industries. The good news, though, these are all policy-based decisions that have brought us here, so they can be fixed. It's not circumstances that have been thrown upon Maine. It's going to take some time to fix these things, but being from outside politics, having the life experience that I do and the perspectives that I have, I think is a big advantage. In addition, the state's a large entity. You've got 14,000 people in the state. You've got 15 major departments. People depend on it to run efficiently and effectively. And having my experience running multiple billion-dollar companies, I think is a great advantage as well, because things that may seem complex to others will not seem complex to me. And that gives me a lot more time to focus on solving this issue and making sure things are better for all Mainers going forward. Thank you.
Ken?
Good morning. First of all, happy birthday to Kim and Alex. My name is Ken Capron, and I want you to remember that. It's really important. Just think of a ugly old guy standing in the kitchen with a red apron on, and on the front of that apron is a C. So it's Ken Capron, not cape on, not a variety of other choices, but Ken Capron. I got into this particular race because it matched the skills that I have. There was an event down in Biddeford a few months ago where one of the candidates stood up, and the minute he mentioned Doge, a room full of 250 people rose to their feet and clapped and screamed and were all excited about Doge, about the Department of Government Efficiency. And I view myself as being the perfect Doge. I'm a CPA with a lot of experience in all of the areas that are important to the state. Spent 10 years as healthcare administration, 6 of those at Maine Medical Center, during a time when we went from 0 subsidiaries to 17 subsidiaries. It was quite a challenge. Aside from being a CPA, I'm also a systems engineer. It means I can dissect systems and put them back together in a more efficient way. I've also done financial fraud investigations, which means I've looked at both nonprofit and for-profit organizations and government organizations and disclosed fraud. I don't control what people do with that information, but I disclose it. I'm also an efficiency expert, and I say that because in the 1 year I had experience in working for the state, 2003, I brought in to help people in revoke rehab get the right software and the right hardware so they could go to work. It was a 1-year grant. And in that 1 year, I saved that department 35% on that process. Not only did the people get better service and better equipment, I saved in 1 year 35%. And the argument there is that there are ways to develop efficiencies in our systems without a whole lot of trouble. That was not a complex thing. And I don't think a lot of that time has been spent on finding efficient ways to run government. We just throw money at it. That's the least efficient way to run government. So I look at myself as being the key Doge, and I would be more than happy to put together a team from existing budget numbers to do that. But in order to do that, we need to have the Republicans elected to build a Doge team. And I want to add that there are 7 in this room, 7 Republican candidates, I believe, and to a T, they're all nice people, serious, caring. They want something better. They're not greedy. They're not angry. They want what's best for this state and for the citizens of this state. They all have friends and relatives and neighbors who they want to go to work for and help out. We know that this state is in trouble financially. We lost some bond ratings. We've got an excess budget. I've never seen a budget grow that fast, and I've worked on a lot of budgets for Maine Med and other organizations, and this budget, the state budget, is frightening. So that's why I'm running. I did want to point out next Wednesday I'll be on WVOM talking about energy. Energy is one of the areas I am most concerned about. And at some point I will take to task some people who have blocked some really good energy ideas in this state for their own personal gain, I guess. I don't know why. Why would you take a good idea and just ignore it or pretend it doesn't exist? That's an attitude, a culture that we need to change. And that's where I think the Republicans could do best, is to come in and change the culture of the underlying services. There are people who are not enjoying their work, but they show up every day because it's the only way they have to make income. So we need to take a look at the culture of the state. We need to do something other than the status quo. The folks who are claiming to be here for a long time and stuff, they haven't solved the problems. We have not solved problems. We've known about housing issues since 1993 at least. That was when the very first study was done. We've known about elder care shortages since 1993 when that was first raised. We've known about all of the problems. We knew about PFAS well ahead of the time it was publicized. It started back in Pease Air Force Base. My time is up. There is a handout out front that has a lot of my other issues on it. I have an issues matrix of 25, soon to be 30 issues. I hope you will all consider taking a look at the anti-status quo candidate. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we're down to the last four. So, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to pull all four. So first up is Owen McCarthy. Second up is John Glowa. Third is Troy Jackson. And last but certainly not least is AK3. That's my new name for you. Angus King III. Owen?
Well, thank you, Kim, and great to see everyone here, and really glad you'd have us all. My goal, being a middle reliever, is to be better than the Red Sox middle reliever last night up here. My name is Owen McCarthy. I'm a proud native of Patten, Maine. I grew up in the shadow of Mount Katahdin, a town of about 1,000 people on a trailer in my grandfather's land, the son of a third-generation logger and a second-generation lunch lady. You know, growing up, it never occurred to me that we did not have a lot. Everything that I needed to succeed was in front of me. A strong community, hard work ethic learned from my father, good schools. We were 4th in the country when I went through the schools. And then I went on to the University of Maine and studied engineering on the Pulp and Paper Scholarship, which is probably the most transformational time in my life. I learned how to solve problems as an engineer. I went initially then from there to work in the paper industry. I've been to every paper mill in the state of Maine, well, except for in Twin Rivers at Madawaska, which I've got to get my wife to vacation up there so we can change that. You know, I went on to become an entrepreneur. I've started a couple of companies. The most recent one is MedRhythms, and we're a medical device business that helps people improve their walking. If you've had a stroke or live with Parkinson's disease, we've built a company here in Maine, raised $60 million in venture capital, navigated the complexities of the healthcare system, got through clinical trials, FDA, and got a Medicare code. I'm also a father and a husband. My sons are Theodore and Oliver, and as I look out today, I don't think kids in Maine have the same opportunity that I had growing up here. I also don't think that it's affordable to live here for the working class Mainer. And so that's why I want to run for governor, to change that. My leadership style is someone that will address the hard facts, but make sure that we have credible hope for the future, which we do. Many of the hard facts have been mentioned today. Costs are out of control. Property taxes are really high to fund our schools, but results are low. Energy costs are difficult for consumers and for businesses. And the list goes on. EMS, in some places you call 911, the ambulance doesn't show up. And drugs are hammering our communities. And it leads to a Maine that, as my Uncle Thump, and yes, I have an Uncle Thump, my Uncle Thump says, everything is going up but wages. In a place where a business owner told me, Owen, can you stop hitting us with new taxes? Because I feel like I'm paying into everything but my savings account right now. But the credible hope, we have potential across this entire state. There is talent out there that is untapped and unseen, from Penobscot to Aroostook County to Washington and Franklin County and everywhere in between. We have proud people that would much rather have a great paying job than another government program. We know that we can cut the red tape that makes it impossible to build housing. We believe that we can pay for and will pay for a world-class education, but we want to get what we pay for. My focus areas are threefold. One is we need to create opportunity or the conditions for opportunity and jobs in the state. Two is we need to focus on things that make Maine more affordable for the working class Mainer, things like housing and energy. And three is we need to spend reasonably in the state so we stop taxing us at a high level. We need to, as a business strategy, do a lot of the things that's been said today, you know, the red tape, the energy, et cetera. Those are table stakes. But we also need to build on where we have strength at the state, where we have talent. We have talent in boat building. Boat building is one of the largest national security concerns of the federal administration. There's a lot of investment that's going to go in there. We should create a lot of jobs there. Advanced forest products and life science. We need to build around that. We are also in a world that's changing with the next industrial revolution led by AI, and we can't let chips do to us now what China did to us then, and we need a strategy for that. And I'll leave you with this. We need to reimagine our state as more than just vacation land for the wealthy. It needs to be a place where Mainers can live, work, and prosper. It needs to be in a place where no matter if you grew up in a double wide on the outskirts of Portland or in a trailer off a dirt road in Patton, you can use your God-given talents to reach your highest potential with nothing standing in your way. Thank you for your time. Look forward to meeting all of you.
Thank you, Owen. John?
Good morning, buenos dias, and assalamu alaikum. I'm a seventh generation Mainer born in Presque Isle. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in economics, a master's degree in public administration. I worked in the executive branch of state government for nearly 30 years as a public servant with the DEP, and I currently sell paint at Home Depot. The shirt I'm wearing today has the words peace, love, and equality in it, and its rainbow colors represent diversity. This is my vision for Maine, and as governor, I will do everything in my power to protect Mainers from the federal government. And to the current administration in Washington, I say, leave Maine and our Maine way of life alone. To be blunt, Maine's government is a mess, and the next governor can either continue to ignore the problems or, as I will, work to solve them. State government's standard operating procedure is to tell the public no until they give up and go away. This nearly always works, and if government doesn't want something to happen, it doesn't happen. I have finally learned that the only way to change the government is to become the government. I'm running for governor to help make Maine's government a democracy, to give real hope to those who have lost hope, and to help make Maine what it can and should be for everyone. Maine's government is dysfunctional at best, rigged at worst. For example, there are effectively no system of checks and balances. Legislators know only what the governor tells them and wants them to know. And the legislature's oversight committee, government oversight committee, is a farce. My years in state government, my environmental and wildlife advocacy, and my education have taught me how government is supposed to work. As governor on day one, I will begin to reform Maine's government. The two major parties and the favored special interests won't even talk about reform of the system because they are the beneficiaries of this rigged system. As an independent, I will be beholden only to the people of Maine. As governor, I will establish an apolitical blue ribbon panel of government experts to examine, with much public input, Maine's constitution, statutes, rules, programs, and policies, and to recommend much needed and overdue reforms. As governor, I will establish within the executive branch an independent internal auditing
team to continuously audit all aspects of the executive branch for efficiency, effectiveness, and compliance with the law. We must operate our government as efficiently and as effectively as possible. As governor, I will establish a direct line of communication between all state employees and the governor's office. In my administration, state employees will be encouraged to speak up and will no longer have to keep their heads down for fear of retribution. I will also work to repeal Maine's unconstitutional law that prohibits state employees from running for state office. As governor, I will recognize Maine's growing minority and immigrant populations by appointing at least one person of color to my cabinet. I will also support full tribal sovereignty. As governor, I will appoint a member of Maine's LGBTQ+ community to serve as a direct liaison with the governor's office. Hatred and discrimination of any Mainer must come to an end, and all Mainers must feel safe and protected. As governor, one of my main goals will be to not lose a single child to abuse or neglect. As governor, I will strongly support small businesses. Maine's environment is our economy, and small businesses are its backbone. As governor, I will work to get politics out of the executive branch and require that the laws of this state be administered fully and fairly. As governor, I will reverse government's priorities by helping those who need the help the most, including the homeless, the elderly, the sick, addicted, mentally ill, undereducated, and the otherwise marginalized. We must and we will put our people first. And as governor, I will pledge to reduce our street homelessness population to 0. I will support construction of so-called pallet villages as temporary shelters and public housing to ameliorate our affordable housing shortage. Now more than ever, Maine needs an independent leader who will try to work with all Maine people. As governor, I pledge to lead by example. I will hold weekly town halls to listen to all Mainers and to work to bridge the divides that are destroying our state and our nation. We must stop judging others by their politics and go back to treating people as we would want to be treated. This is the Maine I used to know, and this is the Maine we can have again if we want it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Troy?
Well, good morning, everyone. Troy Jackson. I'm from Allagash. I'm running for governor to fight for the hardworking Mainers that feel like they've been left behind in this state. And it's interesting hearing people here today talking about different things. Republicans, Democrats, who's a small business owner, who isn't. In my world, you meet people, you don't know who they are, what party they're from. Most everyone that I deal with, in the logging industry, in the fishing industry, the farming industry, is a hard-working Mainer that is a business owner, is a worker, and they're trying to survive in this state. They're feeling the pinch. Economic security is a challenge for them. And look, I get it. Everyone that comes here before you is, sick of seeing the same folks running their mouth and making promises. And that's something that I'm sick of too. That's why I get into politics. I was sick of having people tell me things that I didn't believe. And I didn't think they were going to deliver for me. And that's what, this race is about for me. I get into the legislature because I wanted to change things for the people I cared about, the people, the community I came from. And, I just wanted to be part of a team to try and change what I saw as injustice, unfairness, a state that could do better for people that I really did care about. And as much as you tried, there was always somebody that was standing in the way, somebody that had more power, somebody that wanted things to not change. Things were working exactly the way that they wanted them to. And for everyday working class people, small businesses or working class people, They didn't want him to change because, you know, people that had influence and power were getting what they wanted. You know, right now it's what, 9:20? You know, my son is the sixth generation in my family to be a logger. My son has been working for 7 hours already, you know, and he's a small businessman. He owns $1.5 million worth of equipment, and he's been working for, he's 31 years old. He's been working for 16 years already. I mean, that's what he and everybody in his community does. That's how he's grown up. My dad is one of the hardest people that I knew. My father-in-law is one of the hardest people he knew. We live in a production-based business. If you don't deliver, you don't get paid. That's the way it goes in the logging industry. That's the way it goes in the fishing and farming industry. If you don't show up with your load, you don't get anything. And I saw my dad and my father-in-law time and time again get up at 30 below weather and have to, you know, get a truck started, have to deliver that load to the mill. And if you broke down, if you blew a couple tires or something like that, you know, they had to fix those tires and they had to go on. And if they didn't get anything for that. And that's, to me, what this race is about. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to deliver on property taxes. I'm going to deliver on energy prices. I'm going to deliver on health care because it means something to me. It means something to the people that I care about. These things are something that are important to the people across the state. And I'll tell you what, you know, Ken talked about status quo. I know the status quo. I've seen it time and time again in the Maine legislature. And I walk into the health coverage insurance industry with a bill that we had brought before the committee that I had actually sponsored a bill for a committee to look at prescription drug prices, and they came out with a recommendation, and we went before Big Pharma, you know, the ones that dumped opioids on us in a state like Maine because all these hard work people, and we were going up against Big Pharma. They had all the lobbyists. They didn't just buy one, they had all the lobbyists, and that was the status quo. That's what we were going up against. And that is what happens in Augusta every day. And you know what happened to that bill? And people were talking, look, I'm getting animated and passionate, but you know, Jim talking about he'd like to see, you know, Republicans, you know, take control. So look, I've had more bills vetoed by Republican governors or Democratic governors than anyone in this state. So it's nothing really fun to have a Democratic governor when you're a Democrat either, because they screw you just as well as the Republicans. And I'll tell you that I've had 5 bills vetoed by a Democratic governor when you're going up against Big Pharma. So that is why I am running for governor, because I want to change the system, because the status quo is not working for people like me and for people in my community and people across this state. And that's why I'm running, and that's why I want your support.
And last but not least, Angus King III.
I was going to say I'm aware that I'm standing between everybody and a second cup of coffee, but I feel like Troy woke us all up. Hey, thank you, Kim, and thanks to the Chamber for having us all. This is an important moment, and I'm running for governor because life has become too hard for too many people here in Maine. But I think we can do a lot better with a fresh perspective and a different approach. Mainers have always been really good at making do, but the fact that this is an affordable place to be is a special sauce that we've lost in the last number of years. Life is just too hard. Heat, housing, healthcare, groceries, it's just too expensive, even if you work hard and play by the rules. But we still live in a wonderful place with great people doing unbelievably good things. And so I think there's plenty of opportunity for hope and optimism if we start doing things in a fundamentally different way. So let me tell you a story about different. Let me tell you a story about manure. I realized a few years ago that if we were going to have more clean air, more clean water, and clean energy here in Maine, we had to bring everybody into the solution. So I got utility folks and farmers and community and climate leaders and thousands of cows. And we took something that they had a lot of, manure, and turned it into something that we all need, renewable energy. And today, that project is heating thousands of homes and factories. It's lowering emissions here in Maine. It's creating some good jobs, and it's doing it all without adding costs to Maine families. There are two takeaways, I think, from that story. The first is that there is not a single poop joke I have not heard. The second, though, is that I know something about turning things around and getting stuff done. And I think that's exactly what we need in Maine right now. Housing costs have doubled in the last 5 years. We need to turn that around. Energy costs in the country have gone up 25%. In Maine, they've gone up more than 50%, and they're still climbing. We've got to turn that around. Healthcare costs keep skyrocketing. By one estimate, we spend $1.5 trillion a year just on the administrative piece of healthcare. That's not making anyone healthier. Put it differently, the healthcare industry sends 9 billion faxes every single year. 9 billion. I think it's been 9 billion years since I've seen a fax. We've got to turn that around. And on education, kids in Mississippi are learning to read more effectively than they are here in Maine. If all y'all want to hire Mainers in the workforce in the future, we've got to turn that around. These are big challenges, but I really believe that we can overcome them if we think about things differently and we can bring people together. Because look, these are not down east problems or mid-Maine problems. They are not urban problems or rural problems. They are our problems. And it's going to take all of us to solve them. And look, I'm not naive. I know we live in a very divided political climate, but I had an old friend named George Smith. Some of you may know him. He used to be the leader of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine. And one day a guy walked up to George and said, "George, I think you and I disagree on about 90% of the way the world works." And George, without missing a beat, said, "Well, let's get to work on the 10%. And I think we should follow that example. You don't agree with me on how to grow the economy? That's okay. Let's get to work on building more housing together. You don't agree on my plans for education? That's okay. How about we work together on cutting red tape and making it easier to grow a business here in Maine? Why don't we work together on lowering healthcare costs, and then we can duke it out on climate?" Here's what's worked for me. Applying common sense to the common ground we share, knowing how to get things done, and being accountable for the dollars and the results. That's how I built affordable housing for thousands of people that was actually affordable. That's how I built solar and wind projects across the country and around the world. That's how I built a renewable energy company inside a gas utility. Now I know that is not the ordinary path to the governorship, and searching for common ground is not maybe ordinary politics. But these are not ordinary times. And I think we can make a difference, but we need different kind of leadership who's willing to think differently and can bring people together. And I know we can do it in Maine. We can create a place where people can afford a home in the town where they work, where they can afford groceries and being able to fuel their gas tank, and yes, even afford to get sick. We can be a place where people can build a business, build a career, live a decent life, and then watch their kids grow up and do the same thing. I know we can do it, and we can be a place where people don't look at each other as the cause of their problems, but we understand that we're all going to have to solve them together. So I would ask, with your energy, with your support, with your ideas, and yes, of course, with your vote, I know we can make a difference and build a better Maine. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great morning.
So we have 1 minute, which means we don't have much time for Q&A. I'm not sure if I'm upset about that or high-fiving myself. Does anybody have a question for a specific candidate? Please raise your hand. Okay. Oh, you do. Okay.
This question is for any candidate who wants to answer. I heard a lot today about really important topics facing all Mainers, both future and present, and our businesses. I'm a dairy farmer, so I know all about the manure. I don't need to know more about that today. But I would love to know if anyone has any ideas how to make sure that Maine's food systems remain sustainable, affordable, available, and accessible to all who come here and all that want to raise their family here.
Food systems, anybody want to tackle that that's running? Way in the back. We need to get a mic to you.
I just want to say that I had the opportunity to meet with some folks who volunteer to help feed Maine's people, and Maine state government needs to obviously reprioritize how it spends its money. In this country, it's a disgrace that people have to beg for food, and I would wholeheartedly agree that Maine state government needs to step in and step up and help solve this problem.
Thank you. Anyone else want to tackle that one? Ben?
Just quickly, we were just talking about this yesterday with one of the lobbyists for the agriculture in the state. They're not having an easy time right now. They haven't been tremendously well supported by the state government. So we started talking about what they need. They have a real challenge with labor, getting folks to take those jobs right now. So they need to automate more. They need to get additional technology out there to help them, get more yield from their crops. And they're having challenges with land too. A lot of folks that used to lease land to them for $1, they're not doing anymore, and they can't get that land. So a couple of things on that. The state has enough money that once you dig into where we're spending money inefficiently, you could backstop a lot of these farmers with the technological support they need, the equipment they need. You could buy land for the farmers that the state owns, but then they produce off of that. That's going to drive a lot more sustainability for our farmers and those communities around them. And the state also needs to get a bigger trove of data. When I started asking about trend lines and yields and how many farms are in the state, the data is not there. You got to have good data to make good solutions. So you can support them in a number of ways.
Thank you. Troy?
I think we've got to invest in a lot more small farmers too.
Dr. Libby?
I tell you what we won't do. We won't do what I told everybody not to do, and that is spread sludge that already has PFAS, and we knew about other chemicals, on farmers' property and reward them by paying them for doing that. That's absolutely one of the things we did wrong. And so, and of course, I've been effective at getting rid of MTBE and gasoline with the help of Angus King. And so I have a demonstrated record on that area. And we need to get government out of that sort of creation of a system that really is not positive and productive for agriculture. Thank you.
In the back, Robert?
Hello, thank you. As a farmer, we own a beef farm and chickens, and we do regenerative farming. And I will say we need to get the government out. The red tape and the regulations and the extra costs that the state creates for farmers is just counterproductive.
Okay, and on that note, I want to take a moment to thank all the candidates, all your teams for being here today and keeping things above board and respectful. Hopefully this was a softball to get things kicked off with your campaigns, and I wish you all the best of luck. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation forms on your tables, and if you'd like to be a business spotlighter at an upcoming chamber breakfast, please reach out. We also do chamber chatter videos for our members. If you're interested, check in with us. So this is the conclusion of this morning's forum. Thank you all for being here. We hope to see you in November for our next business breakfast or any of our upcoming events. Have a wonderful day.
Do you want to get your business seen on the big screen? Have more eyes see who you are? Is your budget holding you back, keeping you from advertising your business? Maybe it's time you contacted Crossroads TV. Inexpensive 10-day campaign, pinpoint accuracy for demographics and geography, and the ability to select some or all of their partnered streaming services. Call us, 207-453-9895.
Take your event to the next level with Crossroads TV. Professional audio and video production, multi-camera live streaming, audio system for your panels and entertainment, plus stunning video screen production on LED walls. High quality, seamless production, tailored to your needs. Let us bring your vision to life. Contact us today